Don't get up. So right after Josh read the gospel, I was just about to come walk out here, because just routine, just. And then I had this flash in my mind of two people talking about a year later and going, "You remember that Father Rasnick? You remember his last Sunday when he ruined the three kings walking up?" So I didn't do it. Ooh, that's good. Well, Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. I don't know about you, but entering into this new year, it's been kind of tough. Because, it started really with driving my mom to the airport. So I'm driving her to the airport. I don't know if you guys have ever, taken your family back to where they came from. And driving through our neighborhood, and I just saw all these Christmas trees, just tossed to the side of the road. And I thought, yeah, there it is. Christmas is over, no doubt. And then New Year's is over, because I took her on the 2nd. All my family's going back home. All my kids are just about back in school. All the bowl games are over, right? Or maybe there's one more. There's one more. But they're just about all over. And I was feeling kind of sad. I was just feeling kind of like, man, that was fast. What a fast season. And then my mom, and she didn't mean anything by this, but she goes, I'm driving her, and she goes, "Well, I guess it's back to the same old, same old." And I thought, yeah, that's right. Back to routine, back to doing the normal thing, and that's got a lot of goodness in it. There's a lot of good things about that. But then I thought, back to the same old isn't a real inspiring message for 2015. It's not like, 2015, the same old, once again. And I think that's why people do New Year's resolutions. I think that's one of the reasons why. Because they don't want the new year to be the same old. No matter how good it was, people want the new year to be fresh and new. And I think that's why they do resolutions. And so on behalf of the resolutions, I put this little cartoon in your thing, or we put this little cartoon in your. And I'll read it just in case you don't want to go get it. So Calvin and Hobbes are standing there. I missed those guys. And Calvin's saying to Hobbes, "Resolutions? Me? Just what are you implying?" Oh, you guys probably can't see that. "That I need to change? Are you implying that I need to change? Well, buddy, as far as I'm concerned, I'm perfect, just the way I am." So that's part of resolutions too, right? If you're going to act on your resolution, it means you have to change. Something changes in your life. And that's probably why less than half of people live out their resolutions any more than 4 months. Because change is hard, and who wants to do that? So you have 2015, the year of the same old, or 2015 with some kind of change in it. And there's that tension. And this is where I think our tradition can help. At least it helps me. Where our faith, our tradition comes in. Because the truth is, if you're going to follow Jesus Christ, then you're going to have to be open to change. If you're going to be Christian, you're going to have to be open to change. Not change for the sake of change. Not change because anybody's bad. But change because it's an opportunity to discover more of who we are and more of what life is about and more of what God has in store for us. That's the change I'm talking about. It's a change really that starts with the change that Jesus brings is a change that might mean you don't even do anything. At least not at first. The change starts with receiving something. receiving something. You see, because for Christians, the more of life, the change that we're moving toward, begins with this. God accepts us where we are, as we are, so that we can become more of who God already knows we are. Say that again, and stick with me. God accepts us where we are, as we are, so that we can become more of who God already knows that we are. That's the change I'm talking about. And it's a change of receiving God's presence so that we can really and truly believe that God accepts us as we are, for who we are, so that we can become more of who God knows that we already are. You see, because no matter how young you are, or no matter how old you are, there is always more of you. Because God made you. And so just as an aside, God made you, and God can't help but love what God has made. That's the change I'm talking about. The change of being open enough to receive that truth. I've got this book that I keep reading a lot of. John's used it in a sermon. I've used it in a sermon. It just speaks to me so deeply. And it's called Tattoos on the Heart. And it's a book written by a guy, Gregory Boyle, who works with gangs in the inner city in LA. And he just lives out this idea of what I'm talking about, of being open to the truth of who you are and growing more deeply into that truth. And he does it in such a beautiful way with himself and with other people, especially with the gang members. And on one of the things that he says is, a friend of his told him, you know, God created us because God thought that we'd enjoy life. Imagine that. God created us because God thought that we would enjoy it. That this would be a place of joy. He says this, then he writes this beautiful, beautiful thing. He says, so, we try to find a way then to hold our fingertips gently to the pulse of God. We try to find a way to hold our fingertips gently to the pulse of God. We watch as our hearts begin to beat as one with the one who delights in who we are. Then what do? We exhale the same spirit of delight, the same spirit of God into the world. And we hope. And we hope. Now, isn't that why we come here on Sundays? To experience some way, through this liturgy maybe, through this beautiful music, through the people, through us gathered here together, through this beautiful space, that we experience in some way the presence of God here with us now. The living Spirit of God that is with us and in us and all around us all the time. Isn't that why we come here? So that we can experience this together and breathe that in? Breathe in that love. Breathe in that presence. So that we can then go and take it out into the world and share it and then hope. That's why I come here. That's why I follow Jesus. He writes this other story about this that's about his parents. His parents have been married for 48 years, and his father got a brain tumor. One day he and his mother went to visit his father when he was just in the hospital, trying to work through the tumor, trying to heal. And he noticed as his mom came out, she had a bunch of stuff, and one of the things she had was a pillow. And she carried a pillow, and as she got in the car, they drove off, and he said to her, "You know, Mom, they have pillows at the hospital." And she said, "Yeah, but your father wanted a pillow from my side of the bed." And they kind of rolled their eyes at each other, and then they drove. And when they got to the hospital, she just gave him a peck on the cheek, and she went to the bathroom. And Greg was looking out the window, and he was about to turn and just make small talk about the view and how it looked. And he noticed that his father had the pillow right up against his face. And he was just inhaling the fragrance of the woman with whom he shared a bed for 48 years. And he just breathed in that spirit. And he breathed in that energy. And he said, Greg said, throughout the day he noticed, he as he watched her, he just kept turning his face and breathing it in. You see, that's receiving the Spirit of God. He writes this, "We breathe in the Spirit that delights in our being." We breathe in the Spirit that delights in our being. The fragrance of it. And it works on us. Then we exhale, for that breath has to go somewhere, to breathe into the world the same spirit of delight, confident that this is God's only agenda. Confident that breathing the spirit of love into the world is God's only agenda and what the church is all about. My friends, I hope for you, no matter how good the same old is, I hope for you in 2015 that it's not the same old. I hope that you experience and take in the beauty of God's presence and know how much you're loved and that you're changed by that. Amen.